Let's get ready to rumble!
Chris Dixon rightly points out that Erik Morales was allowed to compete in a lucrative world title fight. In fact, his fight on the Brooklyn card against Danny Garcia was the headline bout of a major card, you know. It was a showcase night for boxing. And Morales was allowed to perform after taking his fat burner, which in Mexico is not a banned or illegal substance. Dixon also, and rightly points out that Golden Boy Promotions, the New York State Athletic Commission, the Barclays Center, and the WBC, the WBA, and Danny Garcia's people all missed a big opportunity to take a definitive stance, and none of them took that option. As we know, Andre Berto, Lamont Peterson are back in action soon, and they're both going to be having significant, meaningful fights. There is no incentive for boxers not to take drugs right now. I don't really see how we can persecute the boxers when there's no shame in it. The only way you could shame a boxer would be to take his livelihood away for a significant period of time. 5 years. Larry Olabamiwo, he got about 5 years, a massive long ban. But if you're going to put premier fighters like Peterson and Berto back into meaningful fights so shortly after they was found to be dirty, it obviously looks like we don't see it as a big deal. And there's no joined up thinking between all the people that Dixon just called out: Golden Boy, the New York Athletic Commission, the Barclays Center, the WBC, the WBA. There's no joined up thinking between them and, say, a network like Showtime or the people who are handling the Olympics, who took away Antonio Tarver's gigs. You see, if positions of authority don't have some semblance of joined up thinking, then you see how things start to ridiculously unravel themselves into the mess that we're seeing. He's lost 2 gigs, but Lamont Peterson and Berto are back in the ring almost as soon as they was caught. It's just a few months back when they was caught. Where's the reprimand? It just seems like a little slap on the wrist. I think the most chastisement any of them have got is through people calling them cheats on websites. You know, I don't get it at all. Kell Brook is now the Matadori IBF challenger for Devon Alexandra's title. Well done, but he's got there really without fighting any... And I'm not saying Carson Jones wasn't dangerous, but he wasn't supposed to be dangerous with his record. They thought Carson was going to be a stepping stone. Brook hasn't been in there with anybody who, in my opinion, on paper, was supposed to pose a threat to him. But I'm not going to go too hard on Brook because he's not the only one. He's not the only one who's benefiting from modern day standards, let's say. It looks like they're trying to build up this David Price-Fury rivalry as they're boxing within 5 days of each other. Price goes in first against Matt Skelton on the 30th of November, and Fury fights Tony Grano on December the 1st. The big question remains, as Chris Dixon is pointing out, is whether they will meet next year or further down the line, or even at all. I'm not going to touch that one. We'll see. When Danny Garcia's left hook exploded on Erik Morales' chin and sent him flying partway through the ropes and onto the ring apron, it brought a similar mind image of Joe Louis knocked almost into the press section by Rocky Marciano. Although Morales did not have the historical impact of a Joe Louis or accomplish anywhere near as much as the Brown Bomber did, he had been a major player since knocking out Daniel Zaragoza to win the WBC Super Bantamweight title in 1997. Moreover, his trilogies with Marco Antonio Barrera and Manny Pacquiao were amongst the most riveting in recent history. It was therefore particularly distressing that such a splendid career should end amid failed drug tests and against a man who had convincingly beaten him 7 months prior. It rarely ends well for even the best of fighters, and discounting Morales' many marvelous performances in favor of emphasizing his wretched showing against Garcia is both short-sighted and unfair. El Terrible should be remembered as he was during his glory days, not as the shell of a fighter who succumbed to a hard-hitting adversary, 12 years his junior. Besides Pacquiao, Barrera, and Zaragoza, Morales also beat outstanding fighters like Junior Jones, Wayne McCullough, Paulie Ayala. Ironically, his most recent victory was a 10th round stoppage of Pablo Cesar Cano, who was unlucky to lose a split decision against Paulie Malignaggi on the same card as Morales versus Garcia. Morales said that he wants to hang up his gloves for good. He wants to have a farewell fight in his hometown of Tijuana, which one assumes would be against a far less formidable opponent than Garcia. It would certainly be a more fitting exit than what went down at Brooklyn's Barclays Center. Mexican fans loved Morales' badass attitude as much as they did his considerable fighting skills. Unlike Barrera, who grew up in a middle-class setting, Morales came from Tijuana's poverty-stricken Zona Norte neighborhood. Their diverse backgrounds made his free-fight feud with Barrera especially bitter, and unlike so many rivals who come to respect and even like their toughest opponents, Morales' aversion for his fellow countryman never mellowed. Stubbornly, defiant to the end, he replied, "Why should I worry about a fighter who doesn't know how to properly throw a punch?" when asked what concerns he had going into the Garcia rematch. It's easy to heap blame on Morales for taking a banned substance and taking a fight that virtually most people thought he couldn't win. Like Joe Louis and countless others, he embarked on a comeback at a time when his best fighting days were long gone. Some people sitting safely behind a keyboard have accused Morales of cheating the public by fighting way past his prime and entering the second Garcia fight for strictly monetary reasons. There is something to be said for that point of view, but let's not forget the enablers. Morales' handlers, Golden Boy Promotions, the New York State Athletic Commission, and Showtime, all of whom could have prevented the mismatch from happening. The fact is none of these entities attempted to address the more troubling aspects of boxing. Instead, they allowed the focus to be poured upon Morales, who was just trying to squeeze a few dollars out of his ring-weary body before he exited the game. That piece was by Nigel Collins. Great piece. Great piece. On the panel this week, we're asked which fighter impressed you most last weekend. Keith Thurman, he says, Eddie Gomez on the Brooklyn show scored a nice knockout. It was easy to miss as there were so many big fights on the bill. Eddie Hearn, the Matchroom chief, and if anybody wants to get the real Eddie Hearn, go to the Matchroom YouTube channel. Do not go to any channel saying Eddie Hearn or the real Eddie Hearn. They are bogus channels. Okay? Go to the Matchroom channel on YouTube. He says, Kell Brook and Cal Yarfai were very impressive. Cal's name was trending on Twitter after his fight. He's only had 4 pro bouts, but he could fight for the British title now. Jack Lowe goes for Daniel Jacobs, although his opponent wasn't all that. Considering what Danny's been through recently with his bout with cancer, Jack's going to go for Danny Jacobs. Eric Ochieng says, Special K Kell Brook. He showed great form to beat a tough operator like Hector Saldiva in only 3 rounds. He came out with a W and looked absolutely superb. Which boxing figure, past or present, is most deserving of a statue is the next question. The most 2 deserving fighters in the opinion of Keith Thurman are Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali. It would be nice to see 2 statues of these 2 in their respective hometowns. Eddie Hearn, who once again, go to the Matchroom channel on YouTube if you want to hear from the real Eddie Hearn. Someone who has transcended the sport like Muhammad Ali. Angelo Dundee deserves a tribute, and an Arturo Gatti statue in Jersey would be fitting. Jack Lowe, I'm a big Muhammad Ali fan. He made boxing what it is today. Jack would like to see a statue erected in the honor of Muhammad Ali at the Boxing Hall of Fame headquarters or in Louisville, Kentucky. Eric Ochieng, who is having a bit of a laugh here, he says, it has to be Eric the Eagle Ochieng. I'd love to see the statue outside Buckingham Palace as it is a famous sight Lots of people visit there, and it's the Queen's home. All right. So, Errol, what do you think about Erik Morales and the recent shame he's brought to his illustrious career?
Yeah, I just think it's a sad way of going out like that. Erik Morales was a great professional. It was great for his country, and the way he's ended up, it just, it's just disintegrated. It's a shame, really. End of the day, he had to take some sort of supplement to make him lose weight. He hasn't been on weight for most of his fights recently. Even though he's a 4-weight champion, he could have left the game at that point. But it's continued far too long, and this is the result of it. So a shame.
What do you think about the WBA, is it the WBC, Golden Boy, the New York State Athletic Commission? Are they almost as culpable as Eric by letting the fight go ahead?
Well, Erik Morales is still a big name, You always want to think he must have met the Nevada requirements in terms of his fitness and everything. So they must have gave him the go ahead. So I guess they're the ones really responsible for the whole thing. At the end of the day, obviously he had nothing left in the tank, but he's just dying to make the weight. He struggles with weight at the minute, so it's not. He's fighting two battles: the battle with the weight and the fight in the ring as well. So the Nevada system, as long as he clears their requirement list, then they're gonna sanction the fight. I don't really blame them, because in the day, he did compete. He tried to compete. It's just nothing turned up.
But to me, he's the second scenario in recent weeks, like Audley Harrison, when he got booed out of the ring, and a lot of people, were saying beforehand that this is a very likely scenario that he's going to underperform, and he's taken the blame, and Box Nation just stride on and move on, just like the Athletic Commission, just like the WBO Golden Boy. These people just move on, and none of the blame shifts towards them. I know, but that's all I can say on that. Another question: who impressed you most last weekend out of Kell Brook, Quillen, just the whole bill? Devin Alexander, Paulie Malignaggi, or maybe the guy who Paulie Malignaggi lost to. Who impressed you the most?
It has to be Quillen, the Quillen fight. I was very impressed with this. I saw the Winky Wright one before, and he knocked down Winky Wright, and he won on a unanimous points decision against Winky Wright, which was a great performance. He did what he had to do. Then moving on to, he fought unbeaten African champion, and he knocked him down several times. And even though they say, obviously the other guy won on the points if they didn't have knockout, but it was a great performance and a great action fight.
Yep.
Well, that's a great way to burst onto the scene.
Yep, I'd go for Quillen as well. And which boxing figure, in your opinion, past or present, is most deserving of a statue?
I'd say Smoking Joe Frazier in Philadelphia. It's overdue right now. They have a statue of Rocky, and for obviously all the things he's done for boxing, but really and truly, they should have a statue for Smoking Joe Frazier. It's way overdue. They should have did it in his lifetime while he was alive.
I think some students apparently are going to have protested, and I think that situation is going to be addressed. There will be a statue, hopefully soon, of Joe Frazier. So I definitely agree with that.
Well, that's good, and I think they should have. I think furthermore, I'm not too sure if they have a statue of Muhammad Ali, and they should have one of definitely of Manuel Stewart in Detroit.
Oh yeah, Manny Stewart. Yeah, that's next to come, obviously.
Yeah, I think so, in the heart of Detroit.
All right.
The count starts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it.
Okay, they have a gentleman named Dave Parton replacing Matt Christie this week, who normally does the 10 count. And this week we're covering boxing statues. So at number 1 we have Rocky Balboa. The iconic image of Balboa atop of the 72 stone steps before the Philadelphia Museum of Art was immortalized in bronze in 1982. The 10-foot Balboa now stands arms aloft at the foot of the famous steps. At number 2, Oscar De La Hoya. Proving the popularity of the Golden Boy, a 7-foot reproduction stood outside Los Angeles' Staples Center before his career was over. Unfortunately, he couldn't recreate the statue's victorious pose when Pacquiao pummeled him into retirement weeks after the unveiling. At number 3, Joe Louis. A 7.5-foot marble reminder of the legendary Louis stands in Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. The longest reigning heavyweight champ is also recognized in Alabama, while in Detroit a 24-foot bronze arm and fist honors one of the greats. At number 4, Jack Johnson. A tribute to the first black heavyweight champion stands throwing a left and lining up a right in Jack Johnson Park, Galveston. At number 5, Bradley Stone. Stone once challenged Richie Wenton for the British Super Bantamweight title and was stopped in the 10th. He walked out of the ring but fell into a coma, dying 2 days later. A memorial stands outside the Peacock Gym where he trained in Canning Town. At number 6, Johnny Owen. A tribute to the Welsh Bantamweight was unveiled in his hometown in 2002, 22 years after he challenged Luke Pintor for the WBC title. Owen was knocked out in the 12th and never regained consciousness. Invited by the Welshman's family, Pintor unveiled the statue. Yes, I remember watching the documentary just recently where Pintor attended the unveiling of the statue. At 7, James Murray. The Scotsman died following his challenge for Drew Doherty's British Bantamweight title in 1995. A bronze statue was erected in Newmains, North Lancashire, in memory of the 25-year-old the following year. At number 8, we have Randolph Turpin. A shrine to the man who once toppled the great Sugar Ray Robinson in 1951 to become the world middleweight champion stands in Warwick. At number 9, Ingemar Johansson, a bronze statue of the man who floored Floyd Patterson 7 times en route to winning the World Heavyweight Championship in 1959, stands at 7.5 feet outside the Uvelli Stadium in his hometown of Gothenburg, where my sister lives. At number 10, Rocky Marciano. A towering 22.5-foot likeness stands in honor of the undefeated heavyweight champion from Broxton, Massachusetts. Another statue throws a right hand in Ripatiatina, Italy, the birthplace of his father. We move on to the letters and tweets. The letter of the week is entitled A Step in the Right Direction. That was written by Gordon Elkins. The pension given to Iran Barkley by the WBC is the first in the new initiatives that they have started in giving boxers pensions. Apparently they're auctioning off these watches, which are the same colour as WBC belts, and they're putting the proceeds of that into some kind of fund, and the interest gathered obviously is going to be going into giving certain boxers a pension. I don't know how or what boxers qualify, but it's a good move regardless. That's what he's referring to there. So it looks like Barkley is the first to be in receipt of this new pension initiative, which is a good look. John Doan. He is not big on Tyson Fury after his rant on Channel 5, where he called Tony Bellew and David Price faggots. Paul Dara from Belfast. He is saddened by the death of Corey Sanders. My letter of the week was actually from this guy, John McDonald from Hertfordshire. He was talking about Ricky Hatton's comeback, and he sort of like pre-warns us of the past history of boxers making comebacks. He talks about Tommy Farr, how he had taken 10 years from out of the game before he returned, and he was beaten in 7 rounds by Don Cockle. John is actually old enough to have seen Don Cockle fight on many occasions, so he'd probably have some very interesting boxing stories to tell. He's actually 92 years of age, and he's been reading the boxing news for 78 years. Wow. Okay. That's impressive, man. That's impressive. 78 years. Wow. He's been reading it. Wow. Damn, man. Tommy Farr, for those who don't know, he once challenged Joe Louis for the heavyweight championship of the world. Tommy was a massive underdog, and he actually took Louis the distance, you know. And he's immortalized, and rightly so, because he fought a very good version of Louis as well. Not the version that Ezra Charles caught on the slide, or the one that Rocky Marciano caught on the real downslide of his career. So, big achievement. Tommy Farr is from Wales in the UK. Ian Owen, he says Amir Khan still has his work cut out for him, even with this new American trainer on board, Virgil Hunter. Although he does believe that Khan still has at least 5 years at the very top, and he cites that Khan never ducks anybody, taking on the likes of Judah, Maidana, Barrera, Peterson, Garcia, etc., etc. David Doe, he's not too sure about Ricky Hatton's comeback. He went to see Ricky when he fought Mayweather in Vegas, and he couldn't actually watch the Pacquiao fight because he's such a massive fan. And obviously his anxiety must have kicked in. On the tweets, at Danny Swift, which is Danny Garcia, 24 years old, living his dream, comes straight from the bottom. At Andre Ward, replying to Danny Swift, great work, bro. You got a gift. Keep working. That was in hindsight after his victory over Morales, where he knocked out Morales in 4 rounds. At Special K Brook, he says, thanks for the support I enjoyed last night. He wants to big up Eddie Hearn. Don't forget to go check out Eddie Hearn's Matchroom YouTube channel, which is a very good channel. Go check that out. It's called Matchroom Boxing. I'm going to leave a link in the description panel. Make sure you check that out. There's a lot of dummy channels. There's a lot of people doing silly little dummy channels, and you know, it's not right really that these people are putting in work and then people are making these dummy channels. You know, just do shit off your own back. You know what I mean? Stop copying and biting, man. God. And Brooke finishes up by saying, "I'm loving the journey." At Big 20 Gav, he's bigging up Jamie McDonald, the European bantamweight champion, I believe he is. If I've got it wrong, I've got it wrong. He believes that Jamie will be a world champion by next year. Oof. Jamie's doing very well, but it's very tough in that division, man. It's very tough, very tough. If he wins a world title at the weight that he's fighting at, he would have earned that, and he would deserve all the props and respect and all the money he earns. He would have earned that, no doubt. At I Am Yafai, who is this Cal Yafai, who everybody seems to, or Cal Yefe, I don't know if I pronounced that wrong, but everybody seems to be making a big deal about this youth, yeah. So we'll have to look out for him. Apparently he was very popular on Twitter, number 3 after the X Factor. So we'll be hearing more about this kid for definite. At Frank Maloney, Price versus Skelton, Hamilton versus Williams, McDermott versus White, plus local undercard fighters. This will be on the 30th of November in Liverpool. That's Frank Maloney breaking down his next card. The readers' poll give Kell Brook a 71% lead in terms of who would win if he fought Amir Khan today. Wow. You can join the poll at www.boxingnewsonline.net or Facebook/boxingnewsonline. David Roxburgh says, I think Khan has been in there with better fighters and Brook has not been tested yet. Lee Colbert, he says, Khan offensively, he is one of the best fighters in the world. And with this move to Virgil Hunter, hopefully it will sort his defense out. I doubt Brook would be too strong for him. The punches that took Khan out would take anyone out. Jordan Gardiner, he says Brook would win. He would be way too strong for him. Joseph Webb, he says Kell Brook. He has good power, speed, proved that he's got a chin and heart. His timing, reflexes are world class and would be the key.
With a right, left, you're toothless. And then you say, God damn, they ruthless.
Boxing News World Light Heavyweight rankings are as so. At number 1, Chad Dawson. At number 2, Bernard Hopkins. At number 3, Jean Pascal. At number 4, Tavoris Cloud. At number 5, Nathan Cleverly. At number 6, Beibut Shilmanov. At number 7, Gabriel Campillo. At number 8, Karo Morat. At number 9, Tony Bellew. At number 10, Isaac Shilemba. Okay, so if you guys know, I've got my little rating system here for the top 5 people in each division. Chad Dawson has defeated Bernard Hopkins. I believe their first fight was rendered a no contest, so he has defeated one person in the rankings. Bernard Hopkins, he's defeated Jean Pascal and no one else. Jean Pascal actually has 2 victories. He's defeated Bernard Hopkins controversially. Yeah, it was controversial, but not bad enough that I will take the victory away from him. And he's defeated Chad Dawson. Tavoris Cloud has, on BoxRec, he's defeated Gabriel Campillo. But in my eyes, no, he hasn't. So I'm not going to give him no dap for that. I'm not going to count. That's my decision. Just like the Ring Magazine have done with Manny Pacquiao and the Tim Bradley fight, I'm going to exercise my right not to recognize his win. And Nathan Cleverly has defeated Tony Bellew. I normally only read out who the top 5 have defeated, but in this case, I'm going to have to make an exception and go to number 7 and say that Gabriel Campillo has defeated Tavoris Cloud. And this is quite an unusual rankings this week where the number 3, Jean Pascal, has actually beaten more fighters in this top 10 than the number 1, who is Chad Dawson, who you could say is lucky to keep his ranking after his last performance against Andre Ward. Even though that wasn't in the light heavyweight division, it was still a comprehensive loss. Very comprehensive loss. Gabriel Campillo has won and lost against Beibut Shilmanov, who is rated above him. You could argue that Campillo won both fights, but I'm going to leave that one for now. You know, even though there is a case that Campillo should be ranked ahead of him, I'll leave that today. And I'm going to exercise my right to put Gabriel Campillo in the 4th place spot and drop Cloud down to 7, even though he's got a belt. That's what I'm going to do. It's only right. So the Boxing Beats and Rhymes light heavyweight rankings is number 1, Chad Dawson. At number 2, Bernard Hopkins. At number 3, Jean Pascal. At number 4, Gabriel Campillo. At number 5, Nathan Cleverly. At number 6, Beibut Shilmanov. At number 7, Tavoris Cloud. At number 8, Karo Morat. At number 9, Tony Bellew. And at number 10 is Isaac Shilemba.
I'm catching the flashback.
This week in 1959 sees Gracio Lamperti of France, who was the European champion. He knocked out the Spaniard Jose Cadalso in a non-title fight, a catchweight match, I guess you would call it. You see, these type of catchweights were quite regular back then. You'd often see featherweight champions fighting lightweights and shit like that because for one reason or the other they would run out of credible opponents in certain divisions, and that was quite a regular practice back in the day. This fight took place in Oran, Algeria, when Algeria was still a part of France and thus would be a part of Europe. The man who succeeded Lamperti if I'm pronouncing that right, would be Rene Barria, who would retain the belt in Iran in April 1961 before Algeria finally achieved independence in 1962. World featherweight champion Davey Moore was known as the Springfield Rifle, but Boxing News called him a machine gun after his stunning demolition of Bobby Neal at the Empire Pool in Wembley. Moore floored the Scottish man 5 times before the referee Tommy Little halted this non-title 10-round affair after just 2 minutes 55 seconds of the first round. The Boxing News reported it was sad to see the look of bewilderment on Bobby's face as Moore drenched him with the fastest two-handed hooking attack we have ever seen over here. In the opening seconds, Neal had landed what appeared to be 2 hefty left hooks on Moore's jaw, but then the man from Ohio turned on the power and it was all one way. Transatlantic air travel was still a novelty in the 1950s, which may explain why Ross Martin's Around the Gyms page led with the story that 30 fight fans would board a BOAC jet airliner at London Airport on November the 30th to attend the Joe Brown Dave Charnley World Lightweight title bout in Houston. Martin reported that a minimum of 30 fans for the December the 2nd fight was needed, and that already 15 Charnley routing followers have booked their air passages for the 6,000-mile journey to the land of oil wells and 10-gallon hats. But Old Bones Brown would stop Dartford's Dave on a cut-eye stoppage in the 5th round. Let me tell you this now, man. All right. The homie from Newark, the historian, Reef from Newark, right? I'm just box wrecking it now. Joe Old Bones Brown made his debut in 1941. On the 5th of September 1941. And he had his last bout on the 4th of August 1970. 29 years as a pro. Whoa. And he held that world lightweight title for the best part of 5 years and defended it on numerous occasions. You know, tough man. I mean, if you're going to ask me who's tougher, the old fighters of back then or today, come on, man. Shut that one down. You just can't compare. They were just far tougher. Their circumstances, and I've read through all the reasons. Fuck all the reasons. They were just a lot tougher. There just can be no disputing that. And I think if you're going to gauge errors, that is where their advantage would probably be. They was probably just, you know what I mean, probably a little tougher. You know what I mean? In the hit and the miss section, we have Orlando Cruz at number 1. In the hit and the miss section, we go to the hit and the miss section. At number 1 in the hit parade is Orlando Cruz, who, as far as we know, is the first openly gay boxer to come out. He won recently over what the Boxing News are calling a solid opponent. And at number 2, Peter Quillen, who won his first world title defeating Hassan Endam on the Brooklyn card last week. At number 3, we had Liam Walsh, who has earned a shot at Ricky Burns' lightweight title. He starts as a huge underdog. At number 4, we have Tony DeMarco, the former world welterweight champion, finally gets some recognition with a statue being erected in his hometown of Boston, Massachusetts. And in the Miss Parade, we have Golden Boy Promotions, the much trumpeted Brooklyn venture, went ahead with a drugs cheat in the main event and a house papered by numerous discounted tickets. Since I don't know what the word discounted means, I'll have to leave any commentary that I was thinking of doing void on that. At number 3, we have Pablo Cesar Cano. The Mexican failed to make weight against Paulie Malignaggi, then lost by a controversial split decision. At number 2, Randall Bailey, who looked all of his 38 years as he hardly landed a punch when surrendering his IBF welterweight title to Devin Alexander last week at Brooklyn. And at number 1 is Eric Morales, for all the reasons that we've already stated numerous times in this report. Fights coming up in the next few weeks. James DeGale is back in the ring in December. Anthony Crowler, the former British lightweight champion, he's eyeing a comeback. Obviously, Cotto, Austin Trout. Brian McGee takes on Mikhail Kessler. Carlos Molina is promising to hurt Amir Khan. We've got a busy month coming up in December, there's no doubt about that. Thomas Adamic meets Steve Cunningham for a second time, this time at heavyweight. The last meeting was at cruiser. Lamont Peterson defends against Kendall Holt. Humberto Soto, who lost to Lucas Matisse in 5 rounds in June, he returns to face Jose Lopez. That's not Jose Cito Lopez. That will be in a few days' time, November the 10th. Tommy Carpenter takes on Andre Fonfara, who I believe he beat Glenn Johnson last time out. They fight for the IBO light heavyweight title. So people is going to be calling the winner of that a world champion when, I don't know. Ricky Burns defends his WBO lightweight championship against Liam Walsh. Daniel Gill defends his IBF and WBA titles against Anthony Mundine, which is an all-Australian clash at middleweight. Darren Barker takes on Kerry Hope. Kerry Hope is a former European middleweight champion who won and lost to Gregor Proska. And we all know Darren Barker more famously for taking on Sergio Martinez and giving him quite a torrid time until succumbing in the 11th round. Lee Purdy takes on Carson Jones, which should be an interesting battle that takes place in the UK. Gavin Reese takes on John Murray on the same bill. And that about wraps it up for this week, folks. Peace out.